Karen Virtual, Creative Katie here. Welcome to my channel, Mixed Media Creations. Take time to hit the subscribe button, and when you click on the bell, you can choose the option to be notified as soon as I upload. That way you won't miss any videos. Today we have a video in the 12 Days of Christmas series. If you wish to support my channel, you can do so by shopping my Amazon influencer links or donating directly through PayPal link. Both of these links can be found in the description box below. Thank you so much for all your support. So today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do mixed media on a pallet sign. Now my husband made this. He cut the wood and stapled it together in the back, I did find one on Amazon, and I'll put a link to it in the description box. So I'm going to use the Crafters Workshop Rustic Sign, Merry and Bright. I love that saying. I've always loved that saying, so I'm quite happy to be able to make it and put it on this palette. Now I've decided that I want it to match my living room decor, and I've got teals in there. And I know, because I've played with these colors, if I use the yellow-green and the Prussian blue, I get the exact shade that is in my living room. Now, I do mix it up somewhat, but as I'm applying it, I am not overly careful. I don't want it to be one tone. Some areas are darker, some are more Prussian blue, some are more teal, some are more different things. Now, I'm using a baby wipe and brushing it back a little bit, or clearing it, because I do want to see the wood grain. Part of the joy, or part of the attraction of doing palette sign like art, is to get that wood grain. But I needn't have worried about that, and you'll see why very soon. So I'm just putting this on. Some places are more watered down, some places I'm applying it thicker. I just want to get the look of weathered kind of wood is what I want, what I am going for. But you can use whatever color in the background you want. I went back and forth for quite a while when I knew I was going to do this, if I was going to make the background off-white and all the focal points teal. But I'm happy with my choice. But you could go either way. So once this fully dries, I'm taking sanding paper. Now this is 3M, and it's on a foam, and then I've got a sanding disc here that I had from my folk art days. And you want to sand with the grain. Now what happens when the paint dries on the wood? The grain lifts up. So if you're very careful, what you're scraping is where the grain is. You don't want to scrape everything. You don't want to sand everything, just the higher parts. So you're taking advantage. And then I'm just using a baby wipe to get rid of all the dust. Excuse me. And I'm very happy with how much wood grain is showing on here. And with this sign, I found, because of what I've chosen to do and wood absorbs the moisture, I had to give time in between to let it dry naturally. And then I thought about what the next step was. So in total, this may have taken me under an hour to do. I've spread it over several days because I wanted everything to really dry. So you want to make sure that you sand everything as much as you want to sand everything before you apply any of the next layers. Now I'm positioning the words Merry and Bright, and this is the Crafters Workshop stencil 2183, and I couldn't find it on Amazon. But this is one of the newer things that they've gotten into. And I love their stencils. They're on great stencil material. Now I am applying modeling paste, and this is actually golden modeling paste because I'm out of my Crafter's Workshop modeling paste. And I'm making it quite thick, and I'm applying it with a key card. I want to get the dimension. Now I know this sign is not going outside. If it was going outside where we get a lot of rain in the winter, I may just do stenciling, and that could be something that you want. But I wanted to add that in there. So each step of the way, I let it dry because I'm not just putting it all on exactly the way the stencil is. I'm positioning it on the boards. Now, one thing that, and I'm using the boards to line up the words merry and bright. When you're putting the modeling paste, if there's cracks, there's the palette boards, right? So there's spaces. That is going to impact. You're going to see those spaces on the letters as well. But I like the idea of adding the dimension to it. So I'm okay with that. So I really like the font they've used here. Now, I've cut these stencils out using the Crafter's Workshop TCW 340, which are stencil blanks. Now, when I ordered this, it said that there was one in there, but I got 3 sheets, and it's actually labeled on the back that it says there's 3 stencils, 12 by 12 stencil blanks, and I cut them into 4, and then I used my Silhouette Cameo to cut out the stencils. But you can just trace a shape on this stencil material and cut it with an X-Acto knife, especially a shape that's reasonably easy to do here. So I decided, because palette signs, they often use chalk paint. I'd bought some chalk paint in this sandy beach color. Now, when you start to use a new medium, it acts differently than some of the stuff that you're used to. And I thought this. So I tried to stencil, I'm using a sponge here. And I think if I had continued to use the sponge and add layers and let it dry in between, I would have been okay. But I got in there with a brush, and it was kind of globbing, and it took me a little bit of a while to get it all even. So now I'm tracing this stencil, or mask as the case may be, with my Stabilo All pencil, but you can use a watercolor crayon pencil, and if you don't have that, you can use just chalk. Just don't press really hard so you put an indentation in the wood, because that, you may not like that. So at the top I have bigger ornaments, and at the bottom I have smaller ones. And I've kind of fast forwarded here because I've painted a first coat of the chalk paint. And once I've done it, I kind of had to continue, so all of them looked the same. So I ended up thinning down the paint. But, I would actually just use my regular acrylic paint, which is what I used in the background. So I don't think it's necessary to go buy something extra special for this. I think if you use chalk paint and there's waxes and there's other techniques that I'm kind of hear about, but I'm really not up to speed with them. So you don't have to go and buy more paints or different paints. So I'm just adding a layer. Now again, where the boards meet, there's a space. And I wasn't careful on that first one to make sure that space, I kind of clean it out so there's not drippy paint in there. I don't like that look, so I would just take a brush and just kind of clean it out so it's not globbing inside. So right now what I am using the Crafter's Workshop Shimmery Goodness, and I'll put a link to that in the description box as well. It is this pearlized gel iridescent medium, and it gives such a lovely shimmer to this. As I'm looking at it across the room, it just looks so good. So I'm just putting a layer of it on top of the chalk paint that I have, because I want these ornaments to shine. Now again, you can use whatever colors you want. You can go two-tone like I pretty much did here, although I do add another color. Or you can do all the Christmas colors. Match it to your decor. So this is a snowflake stencil that I bought just at the dollar store. The Crafters Workshop has one, but I don't have that. And I like this one because it had different size snowflakes. Now it's not really plastic. It's kind of a vinylized paper. So it's not the best, and I struggle a bit getting a good stencil with modeling paste. And I just pick a different snowflake for each of my ornaments, just because I want some variety on here. It did kind of ooze under, especially the center parts, a little bit, but because of how I treat it afterwards, you really can't tell in the finished product. And I put the cutout or the stencil on top so that because these ornaments overlap, I don't want to get some of this modeling paste. Now again, because I'm using modeling paste, I put it on and then I have to let it dry before I can go back and put the modeling paste on the one beside it. Now, again, you can just stencil it on using, several colors or whatever you choose. There is no wrong, there's just different. So now the modeling paste isn't dry, and I'm thinking, oh, I can shade now. And I start to shade with the same mixture of paint that I used in the background. So it's the green, yellow, and the Prussian blue. And I start using my float technique, and I'm liking the effect. The only thing is, I'm thinking, you know what, Karen, stop. You're going to muck up the modeling paste, and then you're going to be unhappy. So I decide, oh, maybe I can shade on the outside. So I let it all dry, and I come back to it the next day, and I'm going to start again to doing the acrylic floating technique to shade on here. Now what this does, it kind of softens the edges, and if there's any mistakes or any unevenness, it kind of hides it a little bit. As well as it shows that one ornament is in front of the other, and I like that. And I'm shading also with dark, with black and Payne's gray on the outside to help it have that dimension. Because this was inside, I could have also collaged on these ornaments. I could have cut these out of gel prints and collaged it on. But again, if I'm putting it outside, I don't know that I would want to do that because the moisture is bound to have an effect. So here I'm shading on the outside, and I'm using a darker color, and I just, I think that just making it pop, just that little extra something. It's really awkward. This is thick wood. I think the one that I found on Amazon isn't quite as thick as this, which is probably a good thing. So if you have any ideas, I really don't know what my last 12 Days of Christmas project is going to be. So if you have ideas of a focal point or something that you want me to incorporate, now's your chance. Put the in the description, or in the comment section, and I'll check. If you get it in there before I make a decision, I think I'll be doing that probably on Monday. So after just thinking if I was going to make these teal, a shimmery teal or gold, I decided I am going to go with my first instinct, which is always the better plan, I think, for myself, and I'm doing gold. And as you see, I'm using a makeup sponge to apply it. I've reapplied the stencil, and I'm adding layers. I'm not trying to do it in one swoop. I think that's the number one mistake people make when they're using stencils, is they try to do it quickly. So I'm just repositioning. I put the mask to cover up so I don't get the paint where I don't want the paint on the other ornament. And I like that little bit of gold in there. It also brings out the wood tone that's coming from the wood grain. I hemmed and hawed about whether I wanted to splatter this with gold in the end. What do you think? In the end, I didn't do it, but I'd love to hear your comments. Let me know if you think I should have splattered it with gold or white or off-white, as the case may be. And I got a little gold on the wood grain, and I couldn't get it off with the baby wipe. It had already dried, so I just dabbed a little bit more of that teal mixture paint, and none the wiser. All things are fixed. Then I'm using the Shimmery Goodness and just putting it over top of the Merry and Bright. Remember, that was just modeling paste, and while it's a very little thing, I like the shimmer that comes from that Shimmery Goodness. So I kind of wanted to pick up the glow from the lights in the house. So again, I just positioned the stencil back on. I find this Shimmery Goodness is a little sticky on the stencil, so make sure you clean it right away. The other thing I found out is, and I'm going to recommend, do not use a heat tool on the Shimmery Goodness. It did bubble. And I didn't even have it that close to it, but it bubbled far faster than regular acrylic paint. So I would just recommend not using a heat tool. Just let it dry naturally. So thanks for joining me. Like I said, leave me a comment in the comment section. Give me ideas for my last day of Christmas, and let me know what you think about whether I should splatter this or not. Right here, I'm just kind of dabbing the gold around the edges. So it's kind of gold gilded. And again, it brings out that wood grain. Here's the finished piece. Give me a thumbs up. Please share my video with your crafty friends. Bye for now.